Welcome viewers to my next episode on G Krish TV. The Alumni Association of Kendriya Vidyalaya IIT Chennai is celebrating the 40th year of its inauguration by organizing a series of podcast interviews with its alumni. G Krish TV is happy to get associated with this celebration and thank the executive committee members and its president Sri K. Balasubramaniam of the Alumni Association of Kendriya Vidyalaya IIT Chennai for giving an opportunity to do a series of podcast interviews and upload on G Krish TV. To give a brief about Kendriya Vidyalaya schools in India and outside to G Krish TV viewers who are not aware, Kendriya Vidyalaya was started under the name of Central School in 1963 with 20 schools. The first one was in Kerala. Central School name was officially changed during July 1963. As per the last report, that is in February 2025, there are 1,256 schools named Kendriya Vidyalayas. It is one of the largest school chains in the world with 1,253 schools in India and 3 operated abroad. Kendriya Vidyalaya School in IIT campus in Chennai was started in the year 1964. We begin the first podcast interview series with Sri TV Ananthanarayanan, an alumnus who passed out from Kendriya Vidyalaya IIT School in 1967. On behalf of the Alumni Association of Kendriya Vidyalaya IIT Chennai, which is celebrating its 40th year, and on behalf of G Krish TV, I warmly welcome Sri TV Ananthanarayanan.
I saw your profile. It is very rich profile. Since the subject is about celebration of 40th year of KV IIT, we are focusing on your role as a student in that school and later after your education. Later on, I'll be happy to do a separate interview with you in course of time. So welcome once again, Mr. TV Ananthanarayanan, fondly called Raghu. Sir, I will start my first question. In those days, Adyar or the present where it is located, they are all thinly populated. I'm talking about 1964. What made you to join the school KV IIT Madras then?
See, I was living in this place called Vidyalaya, which is on the other side, is behind the IIT back gate. And I used to cycle from home to the school initially, coming to the back lane about the IIT. And later, the last couple of years, I joined the monastery because the Vidyalaya is arts kids. Sanad Rajan also encouraged me to come there so that I keep focus on studying or preparing for IIT. And this is so that's how I suppose I studied.
Okay. What was the scenario then and scenario now, which you must have made a loss with?
The school started first when I went there and met this method. It was in what is CSD workshop of IIT Madras. So there were classrooms divided there and one each space. If any class, anybody's talk loud, you can a class kind of a makeshift, and the building was a very nice space. He started, I think, by the second year of when I was there, the other building at the hostel was constructing. That was a unique construction But I hear now that some of that will be altered, not for the better. It was very interesting. They had some huge open doors. The size is allowed lot of air to come in and distributes the gas outside. You know, the classical school.
Okay. Now, but tell me about the education in KV IIT. How was different from other schools in Chennai?
See, I was studying in Don Bosco before I joined ADI. I did is like the way things were being done there. There was such a proselytization kind of when I work on it. So that's one of the reasons why I pulled out at that school. And at KB IIT, all the teachers were extremely kind, and especially since we were the first batch, the camaraderie between the teachers and the students was very high. The number of students was not that high. Yeah, so all of this helped a lot. Okay. Yeah, create a nice context. And there was a lot of freedom is my experience. It was not very strict. Though Mr. Natarajan himself was a very sharp and strict person, but he was also very kind, and I think he laid a very good foundation for speak.
Apart from curriculum, rather education, what other activities were I mean, it was helpful for the students?
See, in the early times, there was so few of us, so there was not really that much of extracurricular. By the time he finished, when the new building came up, he had a very large ground on which we would play cricket, hockey, and so that was very nice. And the teachers would join when then we were playing. That was also that led to a comparatively Shakespeare that. NCC had also started for Vidyalaya pilot. And we had a very good art teacher. Okay, I like art, so that was particularly nice.
Sir, now after you were passing out in 1967, now tell me your life after schooling from KVIT, your life in IIT, then you were done post-graduation also. Then I saw your career, you were into family business, what I understand from your profile. Then you took a career which is road less travel. Can you briefly tell, because that will be very helpful to the student community, not only KVIT, but also other students who are doing this.
See, a few things. Getting into IIT is obviously a very significant event. But one thing you must recognize at that time, there were very few of these coaching classes that they get at IIT. And once you get into IIT, it's quite a shock because you're doing very good story come first things like that. And then once you get into IIT, there are case of the guys like you who are equally good at so many things. Yeah. But I had a very interesting time in Olive. I was part of the sports team. I was the hockey team. So I was very much part of the extracurricular activities. And one of my fond memories is KP Pavandas, who's also a prominent student in IIT. Okay, yeah. He helped me in my first, we had these culturals. Okay. So he taught me how to do a monologue. Okay. Yeah, mono act of Nero. I do think I compared much well with him. She was very well received by IIT. And I think the most critical thing before I completed IIT was that there was a lot of, the Vietnam War started this year. Okay. And the whole student resolution was happy throughout the world. So there were many of us who were questioning ideas of Western development frameworks, paradigm that they were happy. The Club of Rome report came out at that time. So there was quite a buzz about environment, what was the prediction, science and technologies, so on. That was also the time when a Gandhian called Arampalji met many of us students, and he asked us, how will you make India today? Will you do that by run behind the pains and all this? That was a time where some IIT, 250 guys passed out of the final in the 72, I finished. All my colleagues, about 200, had not chartered a flight and went to the US. Yeah. So I stayed behind largely because of the influence of Tapati saying, how will you help India? So we encouraged us to study with a master. We said, go and study it. You really want the help, take care, don't study with a master for at least 10, 12 years. Don't come back to tell you how great Indian knowledge is, but whether it's applicable or not of the day. Because you want to really help it, yeah? You can't do it with a foreign lens, foreign language. We have to discover our own teeth. So that was one very strong direction I took. And for a brief period, I was part of my father's business. And then that got sold and so on. And I was doing consulting and studying yoga with a very, very important feature called Krishnamacharya and to some years. So that was the blend that I carried forward as I went along. So in my consulting, a lot of my work geared towards culture because I was turning around Sikh industries, and culture was a very, very hard at that because people lose heart. So unless you can regenerate the person bound feeling down because the systems are not work well, you can't help to talk. So I was doing work in a sense, what is certainly now for design engineering at that time is the sport systems design and culture. That was the focus of my work, and I was bringing in a lot of ideas from yoga, from the Yoga Sutras to this culture, because the Yoga Sutras focus on how the mind changes. So how does a mind, which is a distracted mind, become capable of focus attendance? And then, of course, there are applications of that to get into very deep states and so on. Yoga is not what is popularly speak sold today, just asana and pranayama. That's a very small store of the practice. There's a huge amount of practice, which is psychology. So that is being more and more of my specialization, where I use Yoga Sutras, proper Parabharata and Rapaya. And I do a lot of programs working with this. And, I've developed models which are actually based on thick sisters, ideas on alignment. How do you align the organization? Exactly like you align yourself and apply to organizations. And also, and right now working on something called Sipta Bihya, which is a whole application of yoga wins Upanishadic insights and so on into transformation. Chitta Vidya is psychology.
Okay.
I call it.
Okay. Sir, only one more question. Your message to the present generation, including students, because when fellow IITians flew to US, you stayed back and definitely you chosen a path, road less traveled. Rather, nobody was there in that road, I think, probably.
So they weren't. They were. It was not like nobody. There were a few friends.
Very few.
In this path.
Actually, your message to G Chris TV viewers and also the student community at large. will be helpful.
See, if I look back, there are two very important things that happened as a turning point. One is having dialogues is very, very. I did call critic the Karampalsi. I had to observe everything in at observe conversations. Oh, these Yogacarya, Krishnamacharya first, and then later on professors from I Ahmedabad, so on. So I think engaging with great people is a very critical epoch. Okay, so that opens your mind like Buccaneer star. Yeah, the second is to really follow your heart. And today I may be more difficult than my time. So there's so much of distraction. And the most of what is sold to you as glorious careers, it is bad. I'm actually, mirages. You'll only excel if you follow your path. Like it might put slow, it might put, not a collaborative or somebody else a beauty. Because I'm still working, I'm still at the park, I'm still teaching. It's fantastic. Okay, I would not have chosen anything else. Thanks to KV, thanks to triplet, Krishnamacharya. I've been able to teach. And of course, you have to study well,
Yeah, correct.
The other critical thing is to be very wide. So you don't just be staggered. Okay, yeah, you must play, you must engage in part, you must engage in many things. Otherwise, the life becomes exceedingly narrow. I teach a lot of teachers. Okay, at 40, 45, they have not really discovered something meaningful. Not only do they plateau, their life becomes very light.
Okay. Sir, I think you have given a lot of messages. I mean, when we hear it again and again. So, I'll have the pleasure of inviting you at a later date, a separate session, because to thinkers like you, your suggestion, your ideas will be very useful to the society. So, on behalf of G Chris TV and also on behalf of KV IIT Alumni Association, I say thank you. Thank you very much. Hope to see you in my next program. Thank you very much, sir.